the early beginning, we started mapping where we have people that can do different things and start asking what are the needs. In the first days of the war, we basically rented apartments in Western Ukraine, where until now, the Russian army didn't arrive. For people who are fleeing their cities to have a hot place, it's minus 10 degrees Celsius at night, reaching 15 sometimes minus. Nowhere to go, places are in ruins. So it's very important for people who are leaving a place of uncertainty to go to a place that there is at least a bit, a slight certainty of having a roof over your head, some food, and a place to stay until you decide to do. Then the next step we did was we started finding ways how to give people money. The bank accounts closed, no credit use is possible. And we were able to develop a network of different ways, never mind how, of sending cash money, and some debit network is still working, so charging debit cards that still work for people who lost everything in a night to be able to buy some food, medicine, and to sponsor their way out of the cities. These were the two first things we did, and then we became a bit more efficient in what we do, and we actually started receiving requests for help. It's important to say that we help every person that applies to us. We don't care if they're from Hashomer Hatzair, we don't care if they're Jews, we don't care about anything beyond the fact they're human beings that need something. Our network is working hard, already hundreds of people, because it started from the activists of Hashomer Hatzair and it grew wider and wider with good people that are willing to take an action and to help. One another data, information that is important, that the movement in Ukraine, in general, in the Russian-speaking countries, we are in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, and Ukraine, we can call it student organization or student movement. Our youngest Chanichimot are 17, and many are 20 and above, so they're all fit, and it's quite convenient, if we can say that, to have this network of activists. I'll give some examples of the requests we get. It can be a person, many elderly people or people with disabilities cannot struggle the struggle that is needed to stand in line in front of shops that open and sell some food. And now and then you hear a rumor in this and this street, there's a place you can go and buy bread or beans or whatever, but the lines are long and there's a need with sharp elbows, let's call it, in order to reach your place. And many people just give up before they even go because they know that they'll just stand in the cold and won't reach the head of the line. So our volunteers go, stand in line, buy things and supply to them at their homes. Many people that their houses are bombarded need an alternative place to stay. So our volunteers are finding places that are inhabited. You can live there or can stay there, and they're helping them move from one place to the other. We have a network of, we have some doctors, medical doctors in our network that help with finding rare medicine. Today, even antibiotics is rare. Even asthma inhaler is rare. So they find the medicine and bring it to the people who need it. And even things that are more trivial, as I couldn't find somebody, they don't answer the phone, what's going on with them. Many of them, because there is no electricity many times, just don't have the way to connect. Sorry for the cats fighting around me. So our people go to the last known address, look for the people, and send a selfie, everything is okay, or call, or whatever they can, even something trivial like that. After 4 days of the war, we started renting buses in 2 different styles. One, which is more challenging and expensive, is to take buses that are leaving the bombarded cities, mainly from Kharkov, but also from Kiev and some smaller cities. And we also established a center together with some high-tech Israeli in Lviv. Lviv is still more or less on routine. Nobody works. And there is a curfew from 8 in the evening until 8 in the morning. But beyond that, life there are relatively okay. So we have a 4 stories high building that we host people beyond some more apartment that we rented. And from there, every day, there is a bus leaving from there to Poland. Just a second, I'm moving because my battery is off. Another thing that we're doing is we found ways how to send supplies into Ukraine. It was challenging because first of all, we had to learn how to become custom officers. There is still custom even in times like this. So sending equipment, medicine, food, and other kind of supplies demanded us to become professionals in import-export from Hungary and Poland into Ukraine. We started with a 3 days journey on the border of Ukraine with Hungary and Poland, checking the different checkpoints, understanding where the police is nicer, where the custom officers are more welcoming, where there are less trucks in the line. And we actually started sending in supplies and medicine from Hungary and Poland into Ukraine. Just yesterday, we were able to send another shipment into Kharkov, filled with medicine, food, especially dry food, and supplies. We're sending a lot of generators. I think we sent already over 70 generators into those places. Also to help with heating. It's very cold, as I said, but even to the basic things of having cell phones charged for them to stay in touch with themselves and with us. We sent already 500 power banks to give to different families so they can have, whenever they have the electricity, to charge it, so they have phones all the time. In general, we're working quite hard with this network of activists and with the different requests that we have, with sending food and medicine and with the buses. Now we have a big challenge in the city of Kherson. If you heard about it, it's a city that is already officially under Russian ruling. And we have an entire orphanage that we try to take out. We have everything ready, but when they tried twice to go on the bus and to leave, there was some kind of a fight around them, and now they're afraid to leave. Totally understandable. It was a challenge because we had to find documents from the Russian authorities to leave Kherson and from the Ukrainian authorities to leave Ukraine, because it's children without the official guardian, without the parents. And even in time of war, people are quite meticulous about it, as they should, because sadly we hear about human trafficking already happening in Ukraine, and all the negative things that are happening in bad times like a war are happening quite quickly. It's amazing to see how fast a person like you, like me, that live normative life, move to the state of mind of immigrants, now of a refugee, not an immigrant. Adult people asking permission to go to the bathroom, people are asking requests for every single move that we want to do. People that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago were independent, strong people. They're still strong today, but the state of mind, the fear, the uncertainty is so great that it's amazing how fast the habits are changing. In the past week and a half, 2 weeks already, we're running a children's center in a transformation center for refugees in a city called Pshemish. One of the most difficult things in this war is to pronounce the name of the Polish cities. Anyway, it's a center that 3,000 people are passing every single day. People stay there between 12 hours and 3 or 4 days. Europe opened its gates to the Ukrainian refugees. Already 3 million refugees left Ukraine. They are getting basically automatic 2 years of working visa and housing. They need to choose where to go. And there are still forms and regularities that they have to go through, formalities that they have to go through. So they stop in this center and they have to decide what will be next in their lives. Because there is a martial law in Ukraine, men between the ages of 18 and 60 cannot leave the country, which means that the refugees are children, elderly people, and women. This children's center, beyond the fact it's the first humane place they meet after running away, the place when they have to decide what's going to happen in the next, nobody knows how long time in front of them. So having the time to leave the children in the place they're sure it's safe and they can actually laugh and dance and enjoy, give the mothers and the older sisters the time, few moments for themselves, first of all, and also the time to actually choose why to go to Germany or to Italy or to Switzerland, to where they go, to check all their options, to rest for a short while, and to make sure that they make the best decision possible. In this center that we're running, there are social workers. We are doing it together with a humanitarian organization called Natan, after Abi Natan, if you heard about him, that is also part of the Hatzair umbrella organization. Hatzair is the umbrella organization over all Hashomer Hatzair organizations. And they have also humanitarian aid organization. And they are running the Red Cross clinic in the place, and they bring social workers. The social workers, while we are engaging with the children, the social workers are sitting with the mothers, seeing that they're okay, understanding if there are challenges, and answering them. Of course, you can imagine that all types of population are refugees, so statistics stays relevant also here. We have a lot of challenges with mental health. We have a lot of challenges with post-trauma. We have a lot of challenges with abusing families and challenges that people carry with them from home. And the social workers and us are seeing and diverting, let's say, the people to the different needs they have. We do the best we can in order to better their lives in any way we can. And the delegations that are running this place are built from the world movement, the Israeli movement, and we have some brother or sister movement that we join because we plan to be there as long as we need it. And it's a delegation of 10 people at least. The center is opens for children at 9 in the morning and is working all day through until 9 in the evening. So it's a lot of work, and it's very, very exhausting. In that place, again, imagine 3,000 people who were wandering their land for a few days or weeks are filled with also disease and plagues. There are 25 known plagues in the place, from Rota through until COVID. COVID is a boring thing already there. 100% of the people of the delegation who come back with COVID. Lucky for all of us with no symptoms. the place is filled with organizations that gives everything from food until, I don't know, USB connectors. The biggest problem, so Hashomer Hatzair, just to say in short what we are today, we are there educationally in Poland, and we do everything we can. We're still going, continue with the projects about sending money, supplies, food, medicine, and equipment into Ukraine. And this is basically what we do from day one. Hashomer Hatzair World Movement and Israel both started few fundraisers. That this is what funding our operation there. Till now, we spent about this project roughly $200,000 US in 3 weeks. And the New Israel Fund now just found a way to help us, and we're looking for more and more organizations to help us do what we do. This is a bird's eye view of what we do. If you have questions or remarks or comments, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Oren, can I take you back to the beginning of the conflict where Hashy, you and Hashy seem to move so quickly to be on the ground, to be setting up all these services, you know, transport and aid and all those, and medical help. How did you manage to set up that network so quickly? You touched on it earlier, but if you can just kind of tell us a little bit, it sounds like it's a massive operation that you've set up. How did you manage to do it on the ground there so quickly?
First of all, I think that the question we ask ourselves is, are we relevant? And I think that the Shomrimot all over the world, we see Hashomer Hatzair as a large family. And your family is in need, there is no question. You stand up immediately as soon as you can, and you do whatever in your power to do. The first week, we used directly from the budget of the World Movement, knowing, believing that we will be able to fundraise and to bring it back, but even not, our people there are important enough as family, as I said, so we do whatever we need to do. Hashomer Hatzair, there are different levels of urgency in what we do. Okay, if we need to find a פעיל או פעילה, שליח שליחה, if we need to make a Passover or holiday, it's very, very important. But there are things that are more important. So the speed of what we do changes, I think, by the emergency of the situation. And as Hashomer Hatzair usually is a talking movement, let's call it. It's a movement that have to convey and discuss every single moment. Part of the need or the will to develop youth autonomies and to develop the democratic behavior of the movement. When we need to go into action in life and death situation, in something connected to safety, the need to convey every single decision is smaller, and therefore we can become more and more efficient. I think that Hashomer Hatzair always claims that we are a life movement and not only a youth movement, and I think it just proved that. We know to react differently to different situations in regards of what they need. And I think that we were able to keep on the routine of Hashomer Hatzair, the youth movement all over the world. And in the same time, we were able to actually act in an efficient, assertive way, because we believe that we cannot leave our members behind. I don't know how many of you have been to Masa LePolin, to extension to Poland, but there was exactly that dilemma in the beginning of the Holocaust. I'm not comparing, but the first thing that happened when things became grim was that the emissaries, the shlichimot, just disappeared, just left because things became challenging. And there are books on books on books written about the sensation of how the movement deserted its members and how it took them 3 or 4 months until they realized it was a mistake and for them to come back into the places of conflict and how meaningful it was for its people. So again, I'm not comparing, it's not the same scale of things, but I think that it was burnt, at least in me, the sense, the understanding that we should stay there for our people no matter what, and we should do everything in our power in order to stay relevant to our people. And I think that because of this awareness, because of the widespread of our people in Ukraine, we were able to act swiftly, and I think also in a relevant way.
And how big is the network that you're working with? You said that there's a lot of volunteers that you're working with, and obviously there's lots of partner organisations on the ground that you're working with in Poland, in Czechoslovakia, and Hungary. How many other organisations are you working with?
Organizations, there are many organizations. Some, when it's easy to volunteer, there are inflation of people who want to volunteer. Part of the job, the work of coordinating this place is actually to tell people, thank you very much for your kind suggestion, but I don't need this help, without offending nobody. But inside Ukraine, there are not enough. I said the network already is 500 and more people that are working. Hashomer Hatzair on daily basis in Ukraine have 300 chanichimot in the 3 cities plus the satellite towns. Many of them fled, many of them cannot help because they cannot help. Many that can are helping, some of them drafted to the army. So it changes every day. Anna, the Russian-speaking coordinator in Hashomer Hatzair, is the one who's coordinating everything. We try to share a story every night in a WhatsApp group, there are 3 already, that what we do. But again, there are people, until now, we didn't say no to even one request. We were not able to fulfill everything that we were asked, but our percentage is quite good of success.
Now we've got a question from Maddie who says, who asks, has there been any political fallout with what you're doing, either from Russia or the Israeli government?
The Russians are not part of the story in any way connected to us. There is a political, political connection. Again, it's everybody wants to be where it's convenient, and a lot of reporters are coming. It's becoming quite cynical and strange. I'm new to that. I didn't know. I am a cynical person, but not to that level. So politics is, we don't deal with politics now, just between organizations. Every single official from the Hungarian and Polish and Ukrainian on the borders were more than helpful. Some of them are grumpy, it's understandable. Some of them are afraid. It takes time until they trust you. One of the biggest things we wanted to work swiftly is for people to understand that we mean business, and we do every dollar we get is a dollar that gets out immediately, and we prove it day in, day out. So I think we have established some kind of trust in the organization within the Jewish world, within the world of volunteers, and in the borders. We actually entered Ukraine more than twice. I led 2 delegations inside because I didn't want to send nobody to a place I didn't see myself. So we went through the whole operation of sending a truck until it gets to its destination, to make sure that we know every step of the way what it means. And it brought a sense of confidence from different authorities in us. The JNF, Kakan are willing now to support part of what we do, the WZO, is willing to help. As I said, the New Israel Fund just sponsored us. So it looks like we have managed to establish ourselves as an organization that can be trusted. But it's a surface level politics. We don't reach to Putin and those people.
Another question from Naomi. Can you tell us a bit more about the Jewish community there?
What people in Israel call the Russian Aliyah is actually mainly Ukrainian Aliyah. I think more than half of the Ukrainian Jews moved out of Ukraine. Many of them went to Israel, others to mainly North America and Germany. But it's still a vibrant community. There are still, I think, around 300,000 of them in Ukraine. When I say these numbers, it's people who have the right to make Aliyah, not necessarily Halacha Jews. Netzer used to be very active there. Netzer are in a general crisis, I think. But Netzer used to be very active in FSU in general and in Ukraine in specific. The Sukhnut are very strong there, the Jewish agency. There are small branches of few organizations in Kiev, especially for being able to say that they have people for the elections of the World Zionist Organization, but not more than that. We're quite, and Chabad are very strong, of course. Those are the main organizations that are active there, the Joint, of course, the JDC. Youth movements in general are not very popular in ex-communist countries, and it was a mean of brainwashing children. So people are still very suspicious about having youth movements. A small info that relates, our flag in Ukraine is blue, not red. There are challenges that we're facing that we don't face in other places in the world. It's true for Bulgaria, Hungary, and all the other countries that used to be communists. When you're not, the question is, what do you want from your Jewish life is a big question. If people are actually religious, then they have Chabad and other organizations. And people, if they're not, it's connected to their will to immigrate to Israel or to use a joint in order to have better retirement conditions and things like this. It's very hard to develop or to establish Jewish as cultural part or Jewish peoplehood in an ex-communist country. We struggle with that quite a lot. This is part of the question. This is part of the question or the reason why our Chanechimot are older. We stopped trying even to recruit younger Chanechimot. Their parents are very suspicious about why to do that. The Sukhnut are strong in a way, and we are in some of the places that we're active in the buildings of the Sukhnut. Other places we just rent a place and we work there. But secular organizations are not very popular in general, and it's very hard to find a way on one way to celebrate your identity, your peoplehood. And this is why not many are doing that.
Thank you. And the political situation from a Jewish point of view and the conversations that have been taking place about part of this invasion being to remove the neo-Nazis from Ukraine, the alleged reason for the invasion. Is there any pushback? Are there any challenges you're facing as a Jewish organization working in Ukraine, or are there any people who don't want to work with you? because it is a Jewish organization?
The only challenges we face, there is anti-Semitism in Ukraine. It's something based in the culture. On the other hand, the prime minister, the president is Jewish. There is some kind of mixed emotions toward Jews, but frankly, the biggest challenges that we have at the Jewish organizations are from Jewish organizations. Are our people Jewish enough? Are people do X or Y or Z? These are our biggest challenges. Again, it's not rare to see anti-Semitism in the streets of Ukraine, also in routine. Now, every violent person just become more violent or don't have nobody to stop them. But no, we don't see any, for sure now, we don't see any, nobody bothers us. We are clearly a Jewish organization. We're not hiding it. And we, for now, didn't have any problem.
Thank you. Other than donations, if people want to help support the work that Hashy is doing, is there anything you need? I mean, we're a diaspora very far away, but is there any other way other than financial that people can contribute to the world movement?
I think, first of all, the support is important, the emotional support, the know that we do. Also in your name, it's Hashomer Hatzair doing things together. We're just lucky enough to be there. So the first is a Shomeri community support. What we do is very important for us and for our Ukrainian members. Their second request after food or medicine is to share their stories. They are afraid that the propaganda machine of Putin is convincing the world that they are the evil people, and they want to know that people share their stories, people press their own governments to support them. If you want to have a rally, choose if support in front of Ukrainian embassy, or to change something in front of the Russian, or to do something with your lay leaders in the community or political leaders in your state or your country. It's all important. And you are those who knows what exactly challenges that are facing there. I don't know what the situation about Ukrainian refugees coming all the way to Australia, but if it's a thing, so also to support in that. The thing is that about practical donations of clothes, medicine, and things like this, I think that the price of flying things all the way there, it will be cheaper, more efficient to buy it here with the same money. Now, if anyway there's a plane flying, if anyway somebody makes something like this, of course, they need especially medicine. There are piles of clothes and blankets and things like this here already thrown to the garbage because they don't know what to do with them. And I think that the biggest challenge will be what will happen in the day after the war stops. Ukraine will have to be rebuilt, and I hope that they will find a way how to rebuild it based on love and not on hate, not on fear. It's not a political discussion, but one of the challenges of Israel till today is that Israel still, from my point of view, in a way, are running away from the Nazis. And when you're running away, it's harder to find compassion. When you're running away and afraid, it's harder to accept minorities. And I think that I would like us to find a way of Hashomer Hatzair family here and wider broad of attention to even the Australian task force, if they'll go to Ukraine, how to create a situation that we help building a country from love and not from fear and hate. We already start working on what Hashomer Hatzair should do in the day after the war, and to see how we can act and help them help themselves, not as in a missionary way, not in a patronizing way as fellow humans, as people who care. So I said a lot around what nobody wants to hear, that the main thing that helps now is money. So money is efficient, but it's not the only thing. There are many things that people with good ideas can help, if to come and volunteer, if to help and support in your own country, and with the general support that what we do is true, or with your kind suggestions how we can do things better.
Thank you. Leon has kind of summarized a lot of what you're saying, that the work is a fantastic reflection of the humanistic values of Hashomer Hatzair, and especially in terms of letting the Jews of Ukraine see that they are part of a wider world community.
He asked something about Shnatnikim. We try our volunteers to be not younger than 22. We already had challenges with volunteers coming and not being able to cope with what they see. Again, the mass of 3,000 people, that every single person is an entire world shattered. The sadness or the challenges that we face are something you need to be able to face. We try our volunteers, the youngest, to be 22, not less. And Masale Polin have a specific goal, and they do Masale Polin, and they should concentrate in Masale Polin. So we don't use Shnatnikim at all for that missions. And it's the efficiency of flying somebody to Poland. It's cheap enough to send somebody from Israel or from Europe to do that. It won't help using the fact they're already in Poland to do that. And I think they're not ready. Not all of them are ready, let's say, and they're a bit young for that.
And what's next in terms of what the work that you and Hashy are doing? Like, what are your next priorities, or is it just continuing the work that you're doing already, because that's obviously reaching a whole audience, a very diverse range of people, from young people to families to the elderly, and providing all that support? Is there anything else that you want to do, or you just need to hold that line until the end of the war?
In the past 2 days, there was a stop in the buses that are coming to the center we're at, because humanitarian corridors were closed by the Russians. We are waiting for them to be reopened, but in any way, we start looking for places to be if the place we are become irrelevant. We are actually probably will need to open 2 more centers, one closer to the border, and one, there's a place called the Ukrainian House in Przemyśl, which was a cultural house of Ukraine before the war, and now it's hosting something like 60 families, 40 children that are planning to stay in Przemyśl, not to continue, and then we need the Ukrainian speakers to actually come to be educators there. But we try to see all the time if our delegation is relevant or not. Inside Ukraine, we keep on doing the same. The challenge of medicine is becoming harder and harder, and we're looking for ways how to send medicine that usually need a prescription, which is harder to get. We have good connection with Pfizer in France, as some of the parents are senior there. Any help from your side, if you think about ways, can be amazing. And again, the custom rules don't change also in times of war. And it's very hard to bring the most important thing. There are no more HIV cocktails in Ukraine. There are many things that are challenging. And we learn that there is nothing we say no to. We try our best to find solutions to everything that happens. So ideas, suggestions, contacts that you have can help. But we're going to keep on doing that. Hopefully, this war will end soon. and we already prepare ourselves to the next stage. I think we're going to focus on Kharkov, where it's our largest can, and it's a city that was almost completely bombarded. How to do things there when the war ends. I didn't see any the question here, if the Russian demonstrated any attempts to distinguish between Jews and non-Jews in the way in which they have. No, they are evil to all in the same way. The problem now that because the Russian, in a way, let's say, I might be historically wrong, but I hope you're going to understand my example. Australia and New Zealand, in a way, are like Russia and Ukraine, okay? More or less with the population, with relative history and things like this. Russian soldiers that entered Ukraine didn't really know that they're invading Ukraine. They were told stories. There are many defects and the soldiers of Russia that are not willing to fight anymore. So what Putin just did, he started sending Chechnyan militia into Ukraine, and he brought now 16,000 soldiers from Syria into Ukraine. Mercenaries. Mercenaries are usually crueler than regular soldiers, so we are on the next level of hostile invasion, let's call it like this. Those people also come with their own prejudice. If they know or don't know who are Jews or not, I don't know, but I know that the general violence is rising now, not only in the level of how many cities are occupied, but what happens after they occupy a place. The Jewish question is not, as I know, something very, very central in the challenge that we see.
So I think, oh, hang on, here's one more question. How many Hashomer Chanechim approximately are there in Ukraine, and was there a shaliach there?
The routine program of Hashomer Hatzair used to host 300 people almost on a weekly basis. Again, 3 cities plus satellite cities, 300 in the camps, let's say. But many joined, and many ex-Shomrimot came back to the movement to be part of the activity. We don't have a shaliach there. We have 2 local activists in Kharkov and something like a semi-activist in the other places. That we consider all our people shlichim, shlichot, but they're not sent from Israel. They are paid by Hashomer Hatzair to coordinate the activity of Hashomer Hatzair in those places.
It is remarkable what you are doing over there, and I think now is probably a good time to wrap it up. I know that you are very busy. There's a lot going on for you, and we really, really appreciate your time and talking to us, and we will disseminate this recording to those who wanted to come and couldn't, but also maybe we can use some of the information here to lobby for more donations, financial donations, and also promote through NIF, who we know are supporting a lot of the work that you're doing. So on behalf of the Hashy parents and friends in Australia, thank you again for the work that you're doing there, and where anything we can do to help, we will.
Many things are good, just to know that NIF gave the donation to us already. This money will go to good things, not necessarily to us, but it's important. So if people want to donate directly to us, it should be directly to us. And if you have connection with NIF Australia that want to give, fantastic. There are many that give to whoever it's convenient to you. I'm sure they all do good things. And your support is important for us, mentally, emotionally. morally, it's very important to say it. And us being one movement, us being one family, is I think what make our clock tick and what make us work. So I think I hope you speak with we when you say about what we do in Ukraine. It's in the name of all of us present in this Zoom and much more. So, כל הכבוד וחזק ואמץ, all of you.
Chazak very much to you and the work that you do. Thank you, and have a good day.